This video is sponsored by Tokyo Treat.
Alright, so coming off of the previous chapter, we saw Gojo getting lit up by the Malevolent Shrine. And in case you didn't watch my spoilers video, let me also apologize here because for the last couple weeks, I was saying the Malevolent Shrine had a radius of nearly 200 kilometers when it was actually meters. And I am sorry about that, guys. I did not mean to spread misinformation or anything like that. I'm simply just an idiot. I knew that it was meters because it says it on the page, but for some reason my brain decided to say kilometers continuously over and over again because my brain is that of a chimp's. So again, I am sorry. I will try not to make any mistakes in the future, but I can guarantee you guys that I eventually will for sure. But you'll be there in the comments calling me out rightfully as you should. But anyways, Gojo decided to play some more 4D chess with Sukuna and somehow using reverse curse technique healed his own curse technique, Limitless, which had that burnout refractory period. I don't even know if I could say that on YouTube, but in the context of Jujutsu Kaisen, it is very PG, I promise you, because he had used his domain expansion, of course, and after you use the domain expansion, you kind of have that period where you can't use your curse technique because Sukuna had chopped up the outside barrier of it. But somehow Gojo was able to heal his exhausted curse technique, and this is even blowing the minds of the spectators, even Akotsu, who is one of the few geniuses in this world. I mean, despite him only really being like a little over a year in the game, he's like so knowledgeable somehow at this point where he's saying that he thought it was impossible to do this because so far we've just seen reverse curse technique used to heal like wounds and whatnot. But considering that this is Gojo, he can just do it because he's Gojo. He's like the Michael Jordan of Jiu-Jitsu. But there is definitely one above him, and I'll go more into that later on. But Akotsu says that a curse technique that's been burnt out by using a domain expansion is an entirely different matter than physical damage, just like when a machine overheats. Even if it isn't broken, you have to let it cool or it won't work. So this makes me think that Gojo is definitely getting to the point of diminished returns with his body and his jujitsu and cursed energy and everything. Like, he can't keep going the way that he has been going for sure. And I think it will eventually catch up with him, but it hasn't yet. But then we see Gojo talking to Sukuna. He's like, you can expand your effective range, can't ya? Because we find out that Sukuna expanded the range of his Malevolent Shrine to its maximum, which is like 200 meters or close to it. And this inspires Gojo to activate his domain expansion once again, which is, we were talking about, it's crazy that he's able to do this. Normally, you can only really do the domain expansion once, but Gojo's not only doing it once, he's doing it twice on top of reverse curse techniquing continuously from all the damage that he had taken, on top of healing his limitless curse technique. But it's a little different this time because Higuruma, another genius, chiming in here, and he says that he switches the internal and external conditions for the barrier. So this means that its exterior is stronger than it was before. Because, as we saw previously, it was very vulnerable to Sukuna's slashing attacks because it was sitting inside of Sukuna's open domain. It wasn't closed and spherical the way that Gojo's is. And even Kusakabe is like, it seems a bit unfair that he could just change the conditions of his domain on the fly. And this is more so like Kusakabe being like a literal reader of this chapter because it is unfair, but it's like we just have to go with it because Gojo is just that crazy. He's just that much of a freak, or a genetic freak in the Jiu-Jitsu world. Like, he's truly an anomaly. One of the greatest sorcerers to ever exist. I mean, he has to be. And I'm talking even including the Heian era. So now Gojo's a little more confident since his domain is going to be cracked from the outside instantly like it was before, and he goes into a quick hand-to-hand exchange with Sukuna, but it turns out that Sukuna is pretty freaky himself. I mean, as we already know. Because on top of already having his domain expansion active, he's also using domain amplification at the same time within it. Even Gojo's like, I guess it isn't impossible. Like, there's just a lot of craziness going on because that's what you get when you see a fight between the two strongest sorcerers in history. Like, they just start breaking the series. And I know I use that term loosely, especially with like Maki, because she literally does with her heavenly restriction and other things that she could do within that spectrum. But these two are truly breaking the series. and I'm really enjoying it. Like, they're pushing the established power system that Gege has put out here to its max and using it like two experts truly would. And I'll get more into that, but I'm just enjoying this so much because everything for the most part makes sense, aside from, you know, Gojo just doing things that we thought you couldn't, but we just have to go with it because it's not like bad, if that makes sense. It still is good. We just have to suspend our disbelief even more than it already is, considering that we are reading battle manga.
But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Tokyo Treat. Tokyo Treat is a monthly pop Japanese snack subscription box where you'll get up to 20 of the latest, most exclusive, limited edition, and seasonal flavored Japanese snacks that are only available in Japan for a limited time, like Sakura Pepsi, Japanese sake Kit Kats, ramen, and many more. It also comes with this awesome booklet that gives you information on all of the snacks in the box, as well as information about Japan and its culture. This month's box is Okinawa Seaside Snacking. Summer is the perfect time to go to the beach, and this month, Tokyo Treat wants to invite you to explore Japan's sun-kissed paradise that is Okinawa through snacks like Okinawa Potato Chinsuko, chilled Hiyashi Ramen, Kamisen Senbai, and special Kit Kat cookies and cream. First, I tried the Nori Shio Dragon Twists. This has such a great, unique texture to it, and it says that the flavor on these are nori seaweed. I also tried the Japanese pineapple juice. Oh, I enjoyed this so much. It's so refreshing. I also tried the Koikea salted caramel chips, and guys, this is the perfect fusion of sweet and salty. There's nothing really like this in the States that I can find, and of course I had to try the special Kit Kats that we always get with Tokyo Treat, and this month it's the cookies and cream, and as usual, they are absolutely incredible, and I swear, these somehow taste like ice cream. I know it doesn't make sense, but they really do. So guys, if you're interested in getting your very own Tokyo Treat box, please check out the link in the description and make sure you use my code Zhoniin. That way you'll get $5 off your very first box. Thanks guys.
So this means they're pretty much at a stalemate. Both domains are active, but neither are really affecting one another because of the contingencies and the counters that they put in place. So Sukuna isn't getting hit by Infinite Void because if he did, he'd probably be instantly defeated. I don't think it's a matter of like how powerful you are with that. Like once you get hit with that, your brain gets overloaded and you're pretty much done. So you have to do everything in your power to avoid it, or at least as far as we know. I mean, maybe full power 20 finger Sukuna in his true body could like muscle through it somehow because why not? You know, just because everything's impossible before this point. But I wonder if we will see that. But going forward, after another brief physical exchange, we see that Sukuna is just becoming the GOAT here if he wasn't already, because he goes back to back with Gojo, similar to how they were in the very first episode in their first encounter, which I think Gege is paying homage to by paralleling it here maybe. But considering that Sukuna was inside of Yuji this whole time, you know, getting, as he says here, first-hand experience, he saw the last time that Gojo had used his domain expansion against Jogo. And he realized, as Kenjaku says here, that the only ones unaffected by Infinite Void are Gojo himself and the ones that are directly touching him. So now that Sukuna is directly touching him, he's unaffected by Infinite Void, and he doesn't really have to use his domain amplification, I guess, because he wants to use his curse technique, or at least that's the implication here, because if he's activating domain amplification, he can't use it. But he goes even further here, and this sequence right here, I have to say, is a 10 out of 10 battle manga sequence. Like, this is what Hunter x Hunter really should be, in my opinion, and I'm not trying to start too much controversy with that. But Sukuna really does something incredible here, and it's just chef kiss. Because the exposition that we get from the narrator says, using a binding vow, Sukuna managed to further increase the power of his domain outside of Gojo's domain by removing the guaranteed hit inside. So while simultaneously keeping himself safe from the Infinite Void by touching Gojo. So he's able to break Gojo's domain because he's activating another binding vow here. I guess in his mind, he's just saying it and it's activating because he's not saying it out loud, but he's removing the slashing attacks from inside. So there's no longer a threat in there. So it makes it, you know, a worthy binding vow. You have to give something to get something in return. but the attacks on the outside of the domain, the ones that would be attacking, the outer sphere of Gojo's domain, is severely increased in power. So now it's strong enough to overcome the reinforcement that Gojo placed on it in the beginning. And yes, he breaks it and then just starts lighting up Gojo once again. Like I said, just chef kiss sequence here. Sukuna fully utilizing the power system put in place here. This is just jujitsu at the very highest level. It's like watching the two best fighters or the two best athletes in our world going at it and putting on a masterclass. Everything is making sense for the most part, and I just can't praise this sequence enough. I wouldn't say that this chapter as a whole is a 10 out of 10 because it takes a lot for me to give that to a chapter. I think I've only given it to like 5 that I've reviewed so far in like the 4 years that I've been doing this. Almost 5 at this point. But this sequence is definitely a 10 out of 10. So another interesting thing happens after this, where Kashimo says that, considering that Gojo just got lit up again and had his domain destroyed once again, he says if he dies, referring to Gojo, I'm going out there next. Don't try to stop me. And this is super fascinating because while Kashimo on the surface would just get absolutely destroyed by Sukuna, he fought to a draw against Hakari. So naturally, using jujitsu math, there's no way he would stand a chance against Sukuna, but he does have his curse technique, which is so powerful he can only use it once. And like I also said before, it ties into Hindu mythology, which Gojo is definitely paralleling to, where there's another character that can use like a lightning-based attack. And I don't know, maybe my editor can punch in here exactly what I'm talking about if he knows, but I'm not exactly sure if it's lightning, but they definitely have like a one-time thing that they can do that can kill a god. And I'm pretty sure that's what Kashimo's thing is here. Like his curse technique is so powerful that he's just been saving it to use against Sukuna for sure. That's why he didn't use it against Hakari. And I think that it is so powerful that it can take out Sukuna. I don't think he's going to kill him, but he might mess him up if he does get a chance to cleanly hit him with it. But anyway, back to the battle, and Gojo is just eating this up. He's still getting cut, but not as bad as before. Like, it was implied that the cuts were going directly through him, like Sukuna's slashing attacks from his domain. But now Gojo is digging really deep into his toolbox here because he's using Falling Blossom Emotion. We saw this before from Naobito when he was in Dagon's domain back in the Shibuya arc. It's similar to domain amplification, except that it doesn't just shut down things. It kind of just attacks the instant hits by coating yourself in cursed energy, essentially. Or as Kusakabe says, it's an amplification of cursed energy that automatically repels anything you touch. So he is repelling Sukuna's slashing attacks here, but it's not strong enough to just completely nullify them. So he is taking them, but it's kind of just like surface level cuts, so he'll be alright. But while he's using this, he's also able to use reverse curse technique to heal his burnout curse technique, just like he did in the previous chapter, coming into this one as well. So both Gojo and Sukuna are really going all out, using jujitsu to its highest level in such a really, really cool way, where for the time being, we're only really going to be able to see these two characters pull off stuff like this, unless we go back to an Heian era flashback, where it's kind of implied that there was at least 10 people on this level or something like that. I'm just throwing a number out there, but considering how powerful Yorozu was, I don't think that was the tip of the iceberg. But coming into the end of the chapter, Gojo activates his domain expansion again. But now that he's failed twice, I guess it's going to be 3 times a charm, because he figures out that instead of just reinforcing the outside of it, he just decides to make his own domain barrier as large as Sukuna's. So now he doesn't have to worry about it getting hit by slash attacks because it's taking up the entire radius. And yeah, I know. How's he doing that? He's Gojo. Okay, he's just a freak, like we were talking about. He's just able to do this. But it doesn't stop there. He somehow just shrinks it down, and it becomes like the size of a basketball, but it consumes everything, including Sukuna, Gojo, and the Malevolent Shrine. And that's where the chapter ends, with it saying a battle between the strongest becomes more dense. So, what happens here is anybody's guess. He's kind of creating almost like a singularity here. And I wonder if that's what his goal is. I don't think he's completely crushed himself and Sukuna. They're probably still just perfectly fine alive in there, but the space has just altered into becoming so dense and small, but I'm sure it seems normal to them. And yeah, like I said before, this could be creating some kind of singularity or something, or this could be what Gojo's maximum technique is. We've been talking about this for a while. Like, what is it? Like, we haven't seen it yet. And I know that he is activating his domain here, but maybe that's tied to it. And it's not unlike Gege to be pulling out these, singularity-based attacks. We have seen it from Yorozu and Tsukumo. So this could be the trifecta here, and Gojo does literally create like even more of a black hole or a event horizon or a singularity the way that Sakuma was possibly. Or he's just trying to take them both out? I don't know, but it remains to be seen. Let me know what you think about this in the comments, guys. If you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.